Hello everybody, the Nameless Narcissist here once again. Simple man, diagnosed with NPD, giving the facts of narcissistic personality disorder and things go on in my head. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, but keep in mind, I am no clinician. I can only speak to my own experiences and the research that I read. Alright, so I got a question that got me thinking the other day about how there's this almost dichotomy between how narcissists will justify some of their behavior. Some of it might be rationalization, right? Well, like, you deserved it. And some of it is going to be straight up denial and stuff like that. And I've kind of discussed at length how certain people being narcissists, Jesus, can be gaslighting kind of occurs because we are trying to defend ourselves, or we feel like we're trying to defend ourselves against you bringing up shame in us, right? We think that you're intentionally trying to cause us shame. But then sometimes we rationalize it by saying, oh, you deserved it, right? And how can you have both of these elements of denial and of rationalization? I think the answer is kind of innate in the fact that we are focusing on the wrong thing. Both of these things are a symptom of a common cause, right? So obviously they're both defense mechanisms against covering up shame, but how are they covering up shame? It's keeping the narrative intact. It's not so much about the actions, it's about our conception as a person. I want to feel like I am a good person. I want to feel like I don't do things wrong. I want to feel like there's nothing in my life that occurs that causes shame. So, these are two symptoms of the same thing, that it doesn't necessarily matter how this is justified as long as it fits in the context of our story. I was thinking a little bit more about it and how this has occurred in my life. Because this can all be summed up in the context of how our false self, in quotes, manifests. Yeah, you deserved it, right? Therefore, I don't feel any shame. Therefore, I was justified in acting the way that I did. But at the same time, maybe it didn't even happen. My mind is going to subconsciously choose what are defense mechanisms that most aptly do that. If I can't rationalize how I could justify it, then my mind is literally going to be like, nope, never happened, or it didn't matter, or you're overreacting, etc., etc. And both these things can be true at the same time or switch relatively frequently. If one defense mechanism breaks down subconsciously, another one's going to take its place. That's kind of the purpose of defense mechanisms, right? Defense mechanisms won't be very defensive if you could just point something out and all of a sudden it's gone. Now, I'm trying to think in my mind how this occurs, like how, in my head, how I can manage to do something like that, switch the narrative so readily. And usually what occurs is I'll do something bad, and in the moment I'll kind of recognize it and be like, shit, shouldn't have done that, that was kind of shitty of me, whatever, kind of a bad person. Then the rationalization starts coming in. That's when at first, sometimes I'll even make up things. It's really stupid. I'll think about something bad they did in the past and convince myself. I'll convince myself that, oh, that's why I did that. It was our revenge. Because that is more tolerable than the idea that I just did this unprompted, right? Or did it on accident, which is funny. It's kind of hilarious. And then as time wears on, I get more and more lost in my lies as I just keep repeating themselves over and over again. They effectively become my truth. There's no difference between my lies and my truth at this point. Not at this point in where I am at right now, but at the point that I have rationalized it over the years. A good example is once I broke up this couple just because I thought it was necessary, and then afterwards the person was super upset and accused me of doing that, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, oh, well, shit, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I was playing God. And eventually I started rationalizing, being like, no, I was in the right. I did this for the better of them. And then even eventually I was like, and also I did, they did bad things to me in the past, so I deserve to be able to do that. And all these things just to affirm how just I am in this situation keep piling on top of each other until the truth is just so the truth is so buried behind each one. Maybe that's part of it, right? Maybe it's not so much of one defense mechanism acting at the same time, but more of layers of defense mechanisms that I'm putting on it over and over again. It's like, well, that one wasn't true. Well, don't worry, I already rationalized it with this one. because my memory usually, because, and in the back of my head, I always kind of know what the truth is. Kind of. It's like doubt. That's what it is. It's like doubt. Like when you're like let's say, I don't know, you have a partner who you suspect them of cheating, right? In your head, you're like, I don't really have much of a reason to feel like that. I'm probably just being crazy, etc. But in the back of your mind, it's like, no, that's what's happening, right? Because you can pick up on that shit. You can pick up on the subtle social cues, like subconsciously. And over enough time, maybe that will come out. But for me, it just kind of stays like that. It stays in the back of my, like the truth stays in the back of my head like that. That like minuscule doubt that I'm able to tell myself, no, that's not actually what's going on. That's not actually what happened. If I really dive into it, I can kind of access it, but it gets really hard. So it's not necessarily that we lose the truth, it's that the truth stops mattering. Especially for me, it's always like, even consciously sometimes when I would lie, I would think, well, it doesn't matter because that's not what everybody else thinks. And I would get anxious sometimes thinking like, okay, what if the truth does come out? And it's when the truth comes out and other people, because and people are like, oh, isn't it hard to keep track of your lies? No, it's as important as the truth. It's the same as the truth. It's only when other people knew what the real truth was that those defense mechanisms start kicking in, and I would try to convince myself of it more. Lies don't matter until I'm caught in them, more or less, which is interesting to think about. And it's interesting because a lot of people have reverence for truth, a reverence for an inherent virtue and value in truth. I've never experienced that. To me, the truth can be used just as negatively as a lie can, and a lie can be used just as positively as the truth can. Sure, will there be more detrimental effects if that truth gets out? Sure. But that's why you don't let it get out. This is one of the questions, I guess, that always questions like this always are hard for me to grapple with, just because this shows some of the inherent differences between how I think and how normal people do. I have never understood, and I don't think I'll ever understand this obsession with the truth. Like, who cares about the truth? Why not just the effects that it has? Yes, in a way, I'm taking away people's agency by not giving them the full story. But if I'm doing good things by taking away their agency in my head, that's rational, that's justified. I don't lie like that anymore, but this is thoughts that still occur to me. I know that society expects me to be truthful, and so I will. And I know that's like part of healing and stuff like that. But again, I don't understand why lying is inherently viewed as bad. And the lie, and maybe that's just the defense mechanisms, right? The defense mechanisms justifying my lying. Because in this case, when it comes to something we perceive ourselves, not actually, but perceive ourselves to be defending ourselves against, it feels like justice to minimize, to use these defense mechanisms, to just blatantly lie sometimes. It's interesting. I just don't understand. I'll be honest. I want to desperately. I want to know what it is about the truth that just it has an inherent good to it, has an inherent positive. I was going to use an example of the government lying to like protect the public from panic, but I was like, wait, that's probably not a good example. Okay, like let's say there is a school shooter or something, right? And the teacher needs to get all the kids out. She's not going to tell them because they're going to panic and like trample over each other. So, they might lie, or like even if they're hiding in the classroom and say, oh no, it's just whatever, but everybody be quiet. Because the panic would be a lot more detrimental than telling the truth would be. Just telling the lie would be. And I guess that does have an implication there that I'm I'm treating everybody else like children in this metaphor. But it makes sense to me. And I know it's not my place, but at the same time, it's like, but lies can be so useful. Lies just don't have this I just don't think lies have this inherent badness everybody else does. Again, I don't lie anymore, or I try not to lie. I still lie minorly every now and then, but I try my best not to. But even to this day, I can't wrap my mind around why lying has to be inherent bad. Anyways, that's basically it. Hope everyone has a good one. Like, comment, subscribe, take your fucking meds.